Rights and Traditions. Welcome to the Rights and Traditions Masterclass. Understanding the role of traditional leaders in advancing democracy and protecting human rights in Zimbabwe. So the Rights and Traditions Masterclass is a flagship product of Zim Rights under our Right to Peace campaign. This follows the release of our 2021 State of Peace report. Many of you may have interacted with that report, and that report, it highlighted a critical fault line on the role of traditional leaders in Zimbabwe and their impact on the electoral processes, which then showed itself as a threat to peace as well as to the depreciating confidence of ordinary people in the integrity of the institution of traditional leadership. Zim Rights went on to produce an important document, the Policy and Advocacy Report, which is titled Rights and Traditions, Traditional Leadership, Politics and Human Rights in Zimbabwe. Now, this masterclass is designed following the key findings of this report, and it is designed to provide human rights advocates, activists, and all those who wish to support the role of traditional leaders in effectively playing their role as guardians of the sacred culture of human dignity, and to understand the key human rights principles that support this position, as well as equip them with the resources and knowledge that allows them to be effective campaigners for a human rights approach to traditional leadership. Needless to say, traditional leaders are an important part of the country, noting that 67% of Zimbabwean citizens live in rural areas, which are areas that are under the control or the leadership of traditional leaders. So we cannot speak about making or creating a sustainable human rights culture in Zimbabwe without having a conversation about the role that the institution of traditional leadership can play on creating such a culture. So we have created this masterclass so that we equip activists, policy advocates, and all those who wish to see the transformation of traditional leadership in line with the Constitution of Zimbabwe's human rights principles. So the key learning outcomes for this module are: first, we want to equip ordinary citizens and activists with the foundational knowledge to enable them to understand the role of the institution of traditional leadership in advancing a culture of human rights. Secondly, we wish to support traditional leaders and their community champions with the relevant knowledge to enable them to dispense their constitutional obligations within the key human rights principles. And finally, we wish to guide the participants in deepening their understanding of the institution of traditional leadership as an important institution in building a culture of human rights in Zimbabwe. So allow me to congratulate you for taking part in this course. I will walk you through the key areas that we are going to cover in this course. First, we are going to do the Guardians of Human Rights Culture, which is an introductory module to this course. We will then look at the legal framework guiding the institution of traditional leadership. For us to begin to speak about how we can assist traditional leadership, we need to have that foundational understanding of what are the laws, the statutes that guide this institution, and what are the key provisions in the Constitution that support, establish, and sustain the institution of traditional leadership. We will then go to speak about understanding the functions of traditional leaders. Then we will look at the standards governing the conduct of traditional leadership. We will proceed to look at traditional leadership, politics, and human rights, which is an important part. In fact, we can say it is the backbone of this conversation. Then we will move to look at enforcement and protection mechanisms. It's one thing to establish standards in theory, but it's quite another to then look at how we can enforce them. We will then look at considerations for institutional reforms. So when we are looking at transforming this institution, Or we are looking at what does the law, the constitution say, what are the expectations of the stakeholders. Then we look at what is ideal, what are we trying to achieve. So under that module, we then look at how do we then close the gap, which is what we are calling the considerations for institutional reform. We will then look at, conclude with the key recommendations, and then after we have covered these modules, we will have a seminar on guardians of culture or merchants of violence. This is an important conversation in which, many people have different expectations and different experiences of traditional leadership. For some, many traditional leaders that we have met out there, they have remained as the guardians of the good culture of human dignity. But in other spaces, traditional leaders have become a menace. So they have also become merchants of violence. So we are going to close our course with a seminar that is going to reflect on those. So I thank you and congratulate you and welcome you for participating in this course. So let's get ready right into the course. It will be facilitated by myself. I'm the National Director for Zim Rights, but I will be assisted by my learned friend, Chafazo Christmas, who is currently a lecturer with the Geneva Institute, but is also a long-time human rights activist and the principal author of this course. So I wish you well. Let's dive deep into rights and traditions.
Africa.